Diabetes is increasing on a daily basis. All right, so it doesn't change with a change of government. It's time for a change, but diabetes, the increase in diabetes, unfortunately, does not change. So there is an increase all the time. Every day there's people being diagnosed, and every day, unfortunately, there's a lot more people who get diabetes but are not diagnosed. Those are the biggest worries for us.
So in terms of the total number, is there any specific number that would you be able to tell us?
Officially, it's 17% of the adult population, right? That's according to the last STEP survey, I think, which was done in 2017. Unofficially, the number is a lot closer to 1 in 3 adults. So with the 3 of us here, one of us would have diabetes, just by chance. So that's how bad it is in Fiji at the moment. At the moment, it's basically a firefighting thing where we're trying to make lives of diabetics better. We're trying to stop them presenting with problems on their feet which need an amputation. We try to assist kids. Now there's 2 types of diabetes basically. There's type 1 and type 2. Type 1 is an autoimmune disease, and it can happen to a child basically soon after they're born. It's when your pancreas packs up and does not produce any insulin. So with a type 1, the only thing is you need to go on insulin. Very little we can do to stop that. Type 2 is a lifestyle disease. So what we eat, what we do, brings it on. There's nothing to say that it's totally genetic, because if we were to listen to Darwin's theory of evolution, only the strong genes are supposed to come through. So a diabetic gene is definitely not a strong gene, so should have been wiped out. But unfortunately, our lifestyle is such that it's getting worse by the day. I don't think you can ever advocate enough, because we are made of whatever we put in our mouths, right? And you would very well understand that the wholesome food that we used to have 50 years ago, 100 years ago, is not available anymore. Now people want meals within 2 minutes, right? There's products out there which promise you a meal in 2 minutes. So you can just imagine that with the amount of increased processed foods that we're eating, that is the major killer, right? And it's not only diabetes, although diabetes is one of the major ones. Your high blood pressure, your other NCDs, your cancers are related to these as well, you know. So if we can reduce the amount of processed foods we eat, if we can spend half an hour a day on exercise. Fiji is number 1, or close to number 1. We were number 1 for a number of years in sevens rugby, right? But what happens to a person after they hit 30, 35? How much exercise does a person get? You know? And since your body is used to the exercise and you stop it all of a sudden, the effect's even worse. So I hope that answers you. Well, processed foods and eating habits and lifestyle, your physical activities. Now, when I say the manner of eating that we have now everyone's got a fridge at home. Maybe even 50, 60 years ago, I remember going to my uncle's place in the West, and they didn't have a fridge. And they were in Lautoka. I mean, it's not as if they were out in the whoop-whoops, right? And now everyone's got a fridge. So if you have a slight hunger, you go open the fridge, get something, and now, maybe this is going to be too technical, but our health starts in our guts, right? Now you can treat your gut, you can imagine it's like a highway, right? Food comes in, food goes out, it takes whatever it needs, and it sends the rest away. But now, okay, your highway has developed a pothole, right? And with our constant eating that we're doing now, snacking, the highway is never empty. So there's always traffic going through it. So when can FRA come in and fix the pothole? They can't, right? If we can give our stomachs and our mouths a rest for at least 12 hours, preferably 15 hours a day, half our problems are solved. You know, so
Might be difficult.
might be difficult because we're getting used to this idea, you know. And if you really put your mind to it, I usually do a a night fast from let's say about 8 or 9 p.m. till about 11 a.m. the next day. I don't have breakfast, right? And that does wonders for me. Except for my voice today, it helps health-wise, you know. I've been able to turn back diabetes. I'm diabetes free now. I was a diabetic about 5 years ago. I'm diabetes free now, and I can maintain a good blood glucose level without any medication. So I think, you know, that would be the way to do it. I'm sure everyone cannot, but that should be our aim. And if that's a goal that we work towards, then there'll be a lot more healthier people around. I can't stress how important this is to Diabetes Fiji, to our children who have type 1 diabetes. With the laptops, with the phones, it gives us greater connectivity to the outlying areas. Digicel has a brilliant network. And with the machines, it'll help 20 diabetic kids who are type 1. It gives them the opportunity to monitor their health and to take charge, take ownership of the issues they have. Diabetes is something that you can live with. You have to live with, right? So it's not something, especially for a type 1, it's not something that will go away tomorrow. So we need to adapt to it and live with it the best we can. The biggest challenge we face is, and this is where CSRs come in, is finance. As you understand, people are not, especially with the economic environment we have in Fiji, people do not have the excess funds to say, okay, right, I am donating this to this health facility or that health facility. So finance is the biggest challenge we have. We have increased our reach to the Pacific as well, where we conduct training for nurses from the other islands, from Cook Islands, from Solomons, and things like that. So all that takes a lot of money. And a lot of times it's said that we cannot do a particular project because of the lack of funds. So that's our major challenge. We've been very lucky to have assistance internationally as well, from World Diabetes Foundation, from a lot of assistance has been coming our way from Australia recently. So we are very, very thankful for whoever does give us assistance, but we definitely need more assistance to be able to make a meaningful difference to diabetics in Fiji. It's a hand-in-glove. They've given us space, an office basically, to be in. We work hand in hand. Whenever we go for screenings, we ask the ministry, they give us people to go with us. We have to supply the consumables, but it's a very, very good working relationship. Unfortunately, we have not been able to meet with the new Minister of Health as yet, but we've worked very, very well with every minister, every permanent secretary that has been around. So working with the Ministry of Health, it's not even a question whether we can work without them, because they are very, very meaningful, very essential to our existence.